So, a warm welcome to you, Karyn. I'm so happy that you and I finally get a chance to do this interview because we were talking about it for quite some time. And now
Right. Yeah,
today's
I'm
the
so
day.
glad. Yeah, finally, we're here. We're here, Dan.
Exactly. And we spoke yesterday too on one of our group calls. So it's good with some frequency and interaction here.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're going to talk a little bit about your business development journey, and the way I tend to start these calls is with an introduction. So why don't you tell us who you are, what you do to start off with?
Sure. My name is Karyn Hankin, and the CEO owner of Trifecta Legal Nurse Consulting. And I think I'm one of your Dan. I'm one of your legal nurse consulting, a member of your legal nurse consulting crew. And I think, am I the first legal nurse who actually gets to be in an interview with you?
Exactly. You're the
I'm
first
the
one being interviewed.
first. Nice. I feel special. I feel special. So yeah, so I am just here growing my business with your help.
Fantastic. And where are you based? Did you say that? Or
No, I'm based in Seattle, Washington, but I have clients all over the country. So much of what you've taught me is just that I can get clients anywhere. And so,
yeah.
build relationships anywhere. And I think on the calls we have with members of our community, they're from all over the world,
Yep,
actually.
indeed.
So on any group call, you hear so many different accents, and some of the people I have to really listen up because I'm like, what? Oh, okay. That's a different
Yeah,
accent. But
yesterday we
yeah,
didn't have any of the trickier ones,
we
luckily.
did. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
There would, yeah. But I love the Aussies, and and
fantastic.
yeah.
So tell me then, you and I started working together. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was a little while back. What made you decide to pull the trigger and join the program?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because it was kind of a buildup, really. I had been in business with two other partners, and we had talked about doing the program, and never really got around to it. And when I became sole owner of the company last year, that's when I jumped on it.
Mm,
I'm the boss. I get to make the decisions now, and I
exactly.
don't have to ask permission and have other people. But I really wanted to take the business. I wanted to grow my business. And so it was perfect timing, where it was a whole new transition. And I really just saw a direction I wanted to take the business. And quite honestly, I didn't know how.
Mm,
And so, everyone wants to grow their business. They want to get more clients. They want to do all those things, but I did not have a roadmap. I just didn't. So I spent a lot of my time just researching, just a lot of the strategies out there are for just any business.
mm,
But our audience, my clients are attorneys, and it's a very sophisticated audience, and so I needed help in how to build those relationships and build my client base with attorneys,
mm.
and I did not know how to do that, and so that's kind of where all of those things came together in a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And so and then you connected with me, and it was just the perfect timing um to take your program and start learning those steps.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you remind me now that we did have some interaction for quite some time before you ended up signing up for the program, and we'll get into that later on, but that kind of cultivation is often what happens when you're trying to to build your business and connect
I
with more
never
new
realized.
people and cultivate those contacts. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
never thought of it in your turn, but you were using those skills on me
I
because
guess
over time. See,
I guess I was.
yeah, but but it really hits home on how you just didn't, it was very much building a relationship. And so it wasn't as though you just reached out to me and I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
I knew right away, but it was, you spoke with my ex-business partners, we kind of tried to get all of that together, but yeah, but it took a little bit of time. But like I said, once I was on my own, I knew right away it was what I wanted to do. And actually, I think it was the next day I purchased your
Yeah,
program.
that
It was
decision was
quick.
quick. Yeah, yeah,
It
I
was quick.
recall, which was great. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm super excited to have you in the program, and it has been so much fun working with you, and it continues to be fun, which is why we're on this call.
Yeah.
And one thing that I thought of important to mention, I mean, you're no beginner, you've been running this business together with your partners for quite some time, and you guys had done I guess we'll get into that too, but you've done business development activities and marketing activities in the past. So you came into this seeking, as you said, a new roadmap and more direction, more effectiveness, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I think when I was in the business with my ex-partners, we were just marketing the way we thought we should be marketing. And now that I've learned so much in your program, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of cringe when I think about some of the things we were doing, because I was like, oh, if I were an attorney, I would be. But it was very much, you have to find that balance of being front of mind, building the relationship, can't be pushy, can't be salesy.
Mm,
Um, and I see so many of the things now that we were doing wrong, just trying to find just general information on marketing out there.
yeah,
um and so, I have to bring it home again that your program is designed to be able to build a client base with attorneys, and
yeah,
that's really one of the hugest things that motivated me, because I thought, I don't need to know marketing. I don't need to, I'm not selling ice cream. I don't need to, I am selling a very specific type of consulting to a very specific type of sophisticated client.
yeah,
And so it requires a lot more. And so that was a huge, huge point for me, because you've been doing this for such a long time that, and I didn't know how to work with the audience that that I was seeking, to build my business with. So,
yeah.
um, so yeah, so that in and of itself is just, anyone can go out there and take a marketing program, but to learn how to work with a sophisticated client base is, it's a whole different thing.
It
It's a
really
whole
is.
different thing.
I think
Yeah.
that's why so many people also get disappointed with marketing and business development. I mean, I obviously do this for a living, so I hear that a lot when I speak with people that are sort of looking at signing up, or just like first initial calls, where when they tell me that, well, I have this or that experiences and it produced zero results. And I think this is probably one of the answers, that
Mhm.
it may not be that the marketing expert or the coach or the consultant is bad at what they do. It's just that they're not specialized in this field and they don't get it.
Yep. Yep.
Relationship driven businesses work differently than selling ice cream, going back to your example, or an
Yes.
application or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's, I hear that all the time from other legal nurses. Either legal nurses who are starting out in the business and they're just gung ho and say, yeah, I know I have what attorneys need. And then you see over and over and over again the posts of, man, this is hard. I have, and I've had legal nurses call me. I'm just, just barely beginning the fifth year with my business. And like I said, last year was a lot of moving into sole ownership and all of that.
Mm,
And so a lot of transition. But I have I've spoken to a lot of legal nurses who just say, wow, this is hard.
yeah,
What am I doing wrong? And it's not that anybody's doing anything wrong. It's just that kind of look at other legal nurse consultants and go, oh,
Exactly.
okay, that's what they're doing. Let me do. And we just kind of keep copycatting each other. And no, and so for me, I needed to step outside the box because we had tried different things and we weren't getting the results we wanted. And
Mm.
yes, we had some clients, of course. But I think another key is that we I see now where I've built relationships, the client base we had, I built completely different relationships with them now.
Oh.
And
Oh,
and
even with the existing ones.
even with the existing
Yeah,
ones, I have clients call and ask me out to lunch.
that's
And
fantastic.
and so um so we had never done that. And so I knew for me that I wanted to move into that with
Mm.
and some you can't, some geographically, unless I'm going
Of
to fly to New
course.
York or Ohio and have lunch with one of our clients. But it's I think that's an important piece of it too, is that once you have someone as a client, just building on that and getting a better relationship and staying front of mind. And because if they've used you once, you can't assume they're going to use you again. The way I
Yeah.
see it, there are a lot of legal nurse consultants out there. So what's going to make them, obviously the quality of my work, but what's going to keep them um, being a client of Trifecta versus another legal nurse. And that requires a whole other piece that your program really taught me how to tap into that.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that part. I was just so busy trying to get clients. I had never even thought about, well, then how do you maintain and cultivate a better relationship with them once you get them? I was
Yeah.
clueless.
And
But
that's
you're
usually the low-hanging fruit, if there is one in this space. Well, there is.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
is it. Uh,
Yes.
but absolutely, we often make assumptions that people will remember us. We will stay front and center of their thoughts when the needs arise. 2 months out, 6 months out, 1 year out. But in my experience, it just rarely happens.
No, it really doesn't. And so I obviously want to gain more clients and build my client base, but I also really want to take the relationships with the clients I have to a whole different level.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I've learned a lot in that respect.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and let's talk more about that. Like, what do you feel are the main takeaways for you? What are the main benefits of the program and us having worked together?
I think number one is learning how to cultivate clients who are attorneys.
Mm.
Very, very, that is huge. Um, I love me my attorneys. I really do, but they can be just a very, very tricky sometimes, and just how to find a balance of not being pushy, not being salesy. I get it. I don't want someone bugging me too much. So how do you know how to temper that excitement of wanting to connect with them, right? And then also just be able to sit back and just let it organically grow on its own.
Yeah,
So I think very specifically is how to work with our target audience, with which are attorneys. That's huge. That's key. Um, I think another thing for me is, yes, the program itself has a wealth of information, but it's also your mentoring. So when we got in the program, we had calls, you and I.
yeah.
You said you set up calls with me, and so we were able to talk. You were able to motivate. You were able to tell me to quit being so scared about getting on phone calls. with
Among other things.
yeah, among several other, so I think the mentorship, and then completely by accident, I think another key takeaway from your program is now this community. So every month we have calls, like with a community. And so we have everyone from all the different areas, whether it's people who want to be expert witnesses or mediators or legal nurses or arbitrators, and it's fantastic to get that group together and have those talks because I'm constantly learning from people who've been in business 30 years or
Yeah.
people who are just starting. There's always, I always have pages and pages of notes and takeaways from
That's
that.
really great to hear.
Yeah. So it's not just, oh, here's another program. It's like, oh, okay, you have some mentoring with it. Oh, now you're plugged into this community and you have group phone calls. Oh, and so, but people have to be ready when they, to me, it's an investment in your program of you just can't buy it and sit back and just say, okay, I'm just going to read something and not implement things.
True.
And so I think a lot of what you encouraged me to do is to be brave and start the implementation of these types of things. So I think to me, that's a very important piece to your program is just is just not only the knowledge, but then how to implement it. And then you lighting a fire under my butt to get me to do it. And then, and then when I'm scared and that, then I'm emailing you and I'm going, oh my gosh. And you're like, you got this, so it's, I think it's all of those different things. And once again, wrapping it up in a bow, all focusing on attorneys. And I can't stress that enough. It's just
Yeah.
not any kind of marketing people. It's just taking your years, your expertise on how to hone in with attorneys. And that's to me is huge. It's huge.
Yeah, I think like circling back to what you said about the community and so on, I think that's one of the biggest changes that we've implemented as of late, because we used to be in LinkedIn groups, like using private LinkedIn groups. But those groups are just, they're not really designed to create a vibrant community. So we moved that in the beginning of the year. Now we've got this new community, and I think the
Yeah.
community, the group calls, the workshops that we do, and the content, it all helps with accountability. Even if you're doing things by yourself, everything that's going on and the exposure that you get to other people and conversations, it just
Yeah.
helps you continuously bring things forward. Because I think you really hit the nail on the head. You can have the greatest program in the world, but if you don't execute on that program, you're not going to see
Yeah.
results anyway.
Oh yeah. And the way you've put it together in the new platform, everything's there. Like it's not piece. So you can, boom, I could pop on there. There's my program and I can work on my program and then boom, right on that same platform, I can email or ask a question to you or the group. So it's
Yeah.
like, so I'm sending a question out to the group and you're answering, somebody else is answering. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then our group calls are on this platform. It's just so user friendly now. It's just, and then you send notifications to us through that. So it's just kind of this feel, but that platform just started and already there's a cohesiveness.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more interactive. It's, hey, I could find everything here. And it's this feeling of accessibility
Yeah.
too. Because I think that's important because I have noticed anytime anyone has a question on there, you're answering right away. And I'm learning from everyone else's questions, but it's just kind of like, oh, it's not just Dan over here and a program over here. It's this really unique accessibility. It's like, you're the all-knowing there that someone sends a question
I
and then
tried to
Dan
be.
says, and then so it's really it's so far we just started, you just transitioned to this whole type of new thing. And I have to say it's so different from even when I first got in the program. And I'm like, wow, this is
That's
really
right, because you
cool.
were in the program prior to that change. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a unique experience. I've never really gotten involved in group things. Like we have group calls, I tend to be, hey, teach me, show me, hey, I'll work in a team, but I'm pretty much a lone wolf. I'm like, let me go do my thing. So I have to say, I kind of tentatively stepped into these group calls with like, well, let's just see what's up. And now I'm hooked.
Fantastic.
Our
You
group
never
call
told me
yesterday.
this.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to hear
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Even yesterday, I was like, I I redid my whole day to make sure that I didn't miss our group call. I was just like, oh, I have to, no, wait, Anne's calls at 2 o'clock. No, I was just rescheduling things just to
Yeah,
make sure I didn't miss our group call.
that's really, really great. I'm happy to hear.
Hmm.
And before we started the conversation, you mentioned, well, you mentioned a lot. We had like a 30-minute conversation before we started the recording,
I know, Dan.
which made me
I don't
forget
like
how
to
to set
talk.
up the screen
Yeah.
too. So now finally I'm in the pain as well. But let me see here. So what you mentioned a few other things. Structure, you keep coming back to that,
Mhm.
that's been, valuable, and having effective techniques, the relationships. And I guess on the topic of getting things done, one thing that you talk quite a lot about is that you're not only doing everything yourself anymore
Oh, yeah,
any longer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think one of the biggest fears, the biggest and most intimidating thing to me is that once I became a solopreneur, right? I'm balancing 30 plates. And I think anyone who's in business for themselves, with themselves, kind of thinks, oh my gosh, I want to learn this. Here's a program. It seems like overwhelming, almost like someone who says, oh, I'm so busy in my life and now I want to go to school and get my PhD, right? It's sometimes it just, the field can feel like so overwhelming.
Mm.
Um, and as I started getting into your program, it became very clear to me that it is so well orchestrated that there were parts and pieces of it that I thought, huh, I can really, these key components to kind of build and grow, I can teach this very easily to someone. So I actually now have a freelancer who works with me and does those things for me.
Yeah.
And so it's a, and I think that's a very important thing to really highlight about the program and the pieces of it is that if if anyone is resisting, or and this was something brought up by my ex-business partners, and why we were going back and forth about the program, but it was, oh, I'm just so busy, we can't really add anything else on our plate.
Very
And for,
common.
yeah, and and I remember thinking, well, first of all, you can't build a business without effective marketing and client relationship building. That's the core of everything. So if you don't do that, how are you going to get a business growing and maintaining, not hitting those plateaus, but being able to elevate yourself above like every
Mm.
plateau and do all those types of things. So um, I'm a fierce advocate now that I have a freelancer helping me. I was able to really teach him, guide him, invest time in him so he knew what he needed to do. And it's been a game changer. It
Yeah.
absolutely has, because he does everything he needs to do every week. And these are the key components and the key tasks and the things that you've taught us to do. So that's kind of a big thing for me is if there's anyone thinking, wow, how am I going to handle all of this extra stuff? Once you learn it, you're going to see that you can delegate and delegate very easily and delegate so many pieces of it.
Mm.
Um, that that for me has just gotten me 1,000 times more excited, because when I see results happening, um, and my freelancer gets excited because he'll send me photos of every client who just kind of the I take over the interactions and the
Yeah.
talking, but he sees results. He gets happy when he sees, relationships building, and then I always let him know, hey, I talked to this attorney and this is how the conversation went. And so that's just something I think is really important, so that people don't hesitate, or that doesn't become a roadblock. Um, because that was a huge concern of mine is,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, how does a solopreneur do it all? But you have to do effective relationship and client cultivation, right? You have to do that. And um, and And I feel your program made it very easy, like very easy to decide what pieces of it could be delegated to other
Fantastic.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
think that that area is is really important because again, keep coming back to actually implementation, like getting it done. That's key. Otherwise, you won't see the results that you
Hmm.
want to see. But finding a freelancer, using a freelancer, it's not as easy as it may seem. Like most people will struggle with finding the right one, and if they find someone, that person
Hmm.
may quit. They may struggle with getting the results that they want. They may struggle with how to manage the interaction, what to task them with. So that's why we put so much emphasis on that in the program to ensure that that's a smooth ride, as smooth as it can be.
Yeah, and it's an investment. So when anyone looks to delegate to a freelancer or whomever, I did invest in him, time and teaching and
Of
understanding. And
course.
this is what legal nurses do. And I taught him, my industry and those types of things. So it has been a time investment, but it's an investment that really pays off if people are willing. And yes, you hear horror stories um, but I think I know I did a really good job in interviewing people and then really stressing the fact that, I want this person coming in to be family. That's always been the core of my business. And
Mm,
so I really wanted somebody who would be able to come in and it would feel more like a family, not as though just they're my employee or they're a freelancer. So I found somebody who really, we call each other family, and I get on video call, talk to his Grammy. His Grammy is just, yes, Grammy and I are besties. And so yeah, but you have to be willing to invest, just like in your program. You have to invest the time, you have to learn. Nothing happens overnight. It builds incrementally.
absolutely.
And I remember when you used to say that, you're like, oh, it builds incrementally. I'm like, well, what is that even, right? Because when
Yeah.
you're starting, you're like, what am I building on? Like, I don't even know. But once you start really getting into your program, you start understanding, right? And so
Mm,
this step builds on this step builds on this step, um, and like I said, and then some of those steps you can absolutely delegate to somebody else. And so where I could be focused now on my clients and doing all of this, and then I have my freelancer doing the portions of the client cultivation um, that you really showed us, how it could be done.
mm. Fantastic. So it seems
Yeah,
like things are going really well. And one thing that I always ask on these calls is, after joining the program and being in the program, has it led to more business? So at the
it
bottom
has.
line.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I want to make it clear too that and you would even said this, right? You would even say, Karyn, have patience, right? That this isn't something that you hop on, you do it, and you can't get discouraged. And so I remember in the beginning, you would tell me that. You would say, this is something that you need to be patient with your audience, right? It isn't like boom, you send out one thing, and yes, it could happen. There are a lot of people who get, you reach out one time
Yeah.
and they get business. I mean, you talk about it. There are other people in our group who talk about it all the time. So um, for me, it kind of has just been like I said, it's been an incremental thing. And
Yeah.
actually, the very first client I got with using the techniques was a client off of LinkedIn, an attorney, and it has led to multiple. He needed testifying experts, and I was able to get a group. And so this is something that is it wasn't just one case, it was multiple cases and ongoing cases. So
Mm.
it worked out so well with him that he's now constantly sending cases
Oh,
and doing all
really?
of this. So from now until infinity with him. So
Yeah.
that was the first. It wasn't just, okay, here I have a case, because I was all excited. I'm like, ooh, dance program's working. And then when I actually spoke to him, he said, no, I have hundreds of cases. So how many
Wow.
can your team take? And so it's been nice, because he just keeps saying, as soon as some of the experts get one done, he's sending more. So
Mm,
that was really excited, because that's just led to something that was on a much bigger level than just here's just one. And we wait a few months and here's another. It's just, so but yes, it definitely has brought more business, and it's definitely but for me, I know a lot of people got the very quick results, and the reach out once, get business right away. That happens quite a bit. For me, it's just kind of a more, because I felt like I was starting from scratch.
mm,
Starting from when I took over sole ownership, we had not been marketing for a long time. There was a lot of difficulties in the partnership, so we had just let everything go by the wayside.
yeah.
So when that transition happened, I kind of felt like it was a clean slate. I felt like, right, I needed to do things differently. So I kind of feel like, even though, at that time I was in the fourth year of the business, I kind of felt like, with things that had happened, it was like starting from the beginning. So I kind of felt like this was like turning over a new leaf, something new, doing
Mm,
something I knew I wanted to do and needed. Um, and the clients, quite honestly, we had worked with, we had never stayed front of mind. We had never kept those connections um, going. And so I just had to kind of reestablish those things. So I felt like it was going back to the basics, and it was a perfect time with you and your program to do that.
mm. Yeah, I think it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, some people get very quick results, but I think it also comes down to what we're talking about, cultivating new contacts from scratch, cold contacts. That is time consuming work for the most part. It's not something that happens overnight. Sure, like we said, it may happen, but generally it's
Mm-hmm.
something that takes slightly longer. Existing clients and referral parties, those can be reawakened,
Mm-hmm.
and those can end up generating very quick business. But if they've left to grow cold over a period of time, then they will also need some nurturing. And I can't now
Yeah.
recall if you mentioned this in the recorded conversation or in the conversation that we had prior to that, but you gave examples of that too. That now some of your clients are actually being much more interactive with you,
Mm-hmm.
much more than they were prior to you taking over the sole ownership.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I think it was before this call. Yeah, I was sharing that there were firms that we had initially connected with back in 2019, 2020, that we hadn't maintained the relationship,
Mm,
not understanding how important that was. And yeah, and I just shared with you that one of those firms, when I got into your program, I reestablished that relationship, did the things you taught me to do, Dan.
yeah.
And this month, the firm reached out, and I got free DMEs, or defense medical exams, just in the month of January from them. So
Fantastic.
yeah, so it was something that we kind of thought this firm was maybe a source of frustration, because we felt like, hey, no one's responding. But I just realized now, and I told you earlier, I sometimes cringe thinking about some of the things. I kind of consider my life, Dan, like pre-Dan and after
That's
Dan.
a great
So
honor.
yes, so we have the things that I did with the business pre-Dan, and now I cringe, or not cringe, but I think, wow, what a lot of wasted time and
Mm,
energy on things I shouldn't have been doing. And so it's like, I always say self, I wish I could go back, but it's all a process. It's all a journey.
Exactly.
But I just and I see a lot of legal nurses doing the same thing, spinning their wheels, doing the same thing, not getting the results. And if I could get on a mountaintop and just say, hey, all that energy and time, good for you. You have that determination, you have that nursepreneur, power to you, but you have to apply that effectively. And when I look back, I just see, wow, there was so much time spent on things that were not going to give the results that were needed. um,
Mm,
so yeah, so things are quite different now in after Dan era
got it.
compared to pre Dan era.
It's a good
So,
example though of it's never too late. These relationships, they are still there. If you approach it the right way, then you can make something out of it. And even if you've run your business in a certain way for years, you can still make it much more effective with your existing pool of clients.
absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just seeing, like I said, more and more just and I'm still surprised sometimes where I'm I'm cultivating the relationships, and I kind of, attorneys don't really get back to you. So you think, oh, do they even know I'm here? And then I'll just get an email of, oh,
Yeah.
hey, I have this case for you. And it's like, you have never responded to me in any of this time, right?
Yeah.
And I think that once again is a testament to what I've been learning in working with our sophisticated audience. They're not gonna, necessarily gonna, respond chatty to you, but and I think legal nurses, I feel as a whole with a lot of them that I speak with, we're nurses, we're helpers, we're warm. If you reach out to me, oh yeah, we're gonna jump in. And I think we as a group, I can say, sometimes take it personally when we don't hear back from attorneys and we think, oh, there's something wrong, or
Mm,
okay, and they're just busy. And I laugh now because I'm like, they'll get back to me when they need me. And you know what? They're going to need me.
yeah.
And it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but I know, they're just very, very busy people. And so when they have a need for a legal nurse, it's my duty and my job to make sure the minute that pops in their mind, like, oh, wait, I think I need a legal trifecta. I
Yeah.
want them to think of my business first. Um, and just like with the firm this month, it may literally take from 2019, early night to pre-pandemic
Sometimes that.
to now.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's it happened, and I see it. Hey, finally, it's an opportunity for us to do some DMEs for them. This January, and really see what they were missing all these years.
Yes, exactly. That's
So
the way to go.
make them sad that they didn't use it years ago.
I mean, it's been really, really great speaking with you, Karyn, and clearly you've thought a lot about where you were before, where you are now, and looking forward. So I'm excited to follow the journey, be part of the journey in the
Mhm.
program, and continue our work together.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm looking forward to it too.
Let's
So
get some more legal nurses to join us.
oh my goodness, I gosh, for once I don't even know what to say because it's I'm just sitting here saying I really, really wish that this was something I wish I would have found you early on.
Yeah.
But I'm happy I found you now, and I'm just hoping that if this message can get to any other legal nurses out there.
I'll make sure
This
of
is
that.
I
That's my job.
Yeah, that's you. You're good at that client cultivation, Dan.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward to learning and growing, and really the community that really excites me now. Um,
Fantastic.
you know, yeah, and you always motivating us to get out there and do more.
Thank you so much, Karyn. I really
Sure.
enjoyed speaking with you.
Great speaking with you
And
too.
we'll meet again soon in the group or on the
In the group
call.
call.
Yeah.
Okay.